when a still room feels suddenly not so empty. The veil between worlds become thin as breath, and somewhere, just beyond our sight, someone is watching and trying to communicate with us. Some of us have felt it and needed that closure, the ache of something left unsaid, the final goodbye that never found its voice. Love that lingers caught between here and there. For centuries, mankind has searched for a way to bridge that silence through candlelights and seances, through whispered prayers and dreams, through trembling hands reaching into the unseen. And some rare souls have learned to listen when the living cannot. Tonight, we meet one of those souls, a woman who walks gently between both worlds, offering peace to the departed and the comfort those left behind. Her name is Brooke Ashley, a true medium, one who carries a light and hears into the quiet dark and helps reunite hearts divided by death itself. And as the veil grows thin once more this evening, we invite you to step across with us carefully. Listen closely, for sometimes the dead do speak. And tonight, they may just speak through her. Welcome. I am your host, Gabriel Von Graves, and this is Darkwoods Paranormal. With me always, your co-host, Raven Knight. And tonight, we welcome our guest, the gifted medium, Brooke Ashley, as we explore the space between memory and spirit entwine. Because tonight, we do more than tell stories. We open the door to loved ones needing to speak their final words. Welcome, Brooke. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Welcome, Raven. How are you doing tonight?
Hello. I am good. I am excited that Brooke is here actually as well. So this is going to be a really good show, I think.
Oh, I hope so. They all are, right?
Well, they all are, but
Well,
I'm
Brooke,
excited.
tell
Excited.
us a little bit about yourself if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have always been intuitive since a child, of course. I feel like it's easy to say when you're a medium, you look back being like the weird kid or the creepy kid or the kid who's a little bit offbeat. so, about 5 years ago, I decided to take a mediumship class, like a beginner's course, just to see whether or not that was something that I was capable of doing since, my gifts hadn't really gone anywhere specific at that point. So I did that and it kind of took off from there. And I have been a developing medium for the last 5 years. I eat, sleep, and breathe mediumship and paranormal investigation. And that's what I love to do.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I forgot to mention you are a paranormal investigator and a podcaster. Is that correct?
That's true.
Fantastic. Well, tell us about some of the investigations you've had been able to go on.
Oh my gosh. There's so many amazing ones that I could talk about, but we spend a lot of time in Butte. So my team is Earthly Imprint Paranormal, and it consists of me and my partner Martin. And we go to different locations. We're stationed here, or we live here in Washington State. He's Minnesotan originally.
So
I'm
am I.
Washington. Oh, really? Yeah. Love
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, I love Minnesota. It's one of my favorite places in the world, honestly.
Right.
Love it. Adore it. Can't wait to get out of Washington State. Don't tell them I told you that.
I am
But
telling everybody, just so you know.
This is live. I mean,
tell
actually,
them I
everyone
really
listens.
don't care.
I'll be calling everybody, say, listen, Brooke doesn't like it, you know?
I'm out of here soon anyway, so
Right.
but yeah,
Fantastic.
we love Butte, Montana. Chris Fisk is a friend of ours. And so we've gotten to investigate the Dumas brothel, the Cabbage Patch, Silver Bow Center, the Myra brothel, the Copper King Mansion. We spend a lot of time here in Port Townsend, Washington, so Manresa Castle. We've done a lot of investigations around that area. We've done the lighthouse out here at Fort Worden. We have done the Boyd House twice now. We were able to go to the Paracon, and we were actually the team that got to lead up the investigations. Was super exciting. We love it, but we travel anywhere we can and everywhere we can, and we enjoy it a lot. So, yeah.
Sounds like we have a lot of similarities, huh, Raven?
I think so too. Actually, I we were almost going to go to that Boyd, the,
Mm-hmm.
the the Boyd Paracon, but we didn't make it to that one. But we do the same thing. Like we really want to travel all over and do this. We're into going anywhere that and everywhere that we can. with Transylvania also on that list. But
Absolutely.
that's for
Absolutely.
a later date. But I actually want to ask you, when you were younger, I know you said just 5 years ago you started doing this mediumship, but when you were younger, did you ever have any experiences in the paranormal, or is this something, or I guess if you, had some experiences with being a medium even that you didn't even recall were experiences until recently?
I would have to say when it comes to paranormal, I don't even remember a time that wasn't a very large part of my life. Um, I mean, the experiences were from as far back as I can remember, and my sister is incredibly open. She tried and she was interested. She'd probably be a better medium than me, to be honest. So just I think that PK energy together probably was kicking up something, and we lived in a house that was very, very haunted. I feel like it was probably more elemental than it was haunted, because as you grow up and you feel human spirits, you look back and you're like, that was not that. You know what I mean? So from a very young age, paranormal was something that's always been there for me. When it comes to medium mystic stuff, I think the trick about mediumship is this: people don't realize how subtle it is. They think it's something else. So they don't know that's what they're doing. And I didn't even realize that it was mediumship that I was capable of doing until I took a course. Cindy Case has been one of my mentors for 5 years, one of many beautiful, amazing mentors that I've been able to have. But she was able to show me that these little tiny things that really felt like daydreaming or things just dropping to your mind, that's actually mediumship. So looking back as a kid, I definitely had high psychic abilities, and I knew that. I just didn't realize that some of that which was going on was medium mystic as well. The psychic was very easy for me as a child, but that probably goes back to kids who are steeped in a lot of horrible trauma as littles. They're blown wide open really fast, like because they have to kind of be in a protective mode. So that'll kind of open those abilities as well. So the psychic was there. I didn't realize some of that was mediumistic until I started taking a course. Yeah.
Do you have any experiences with demonology?
You know, I probably could have been a demonologist at the age of 20, to be honest with
Okay,
you, because
fantastic.
I was that into that space, and I was watching a lot of things. And anytime I would hear something like on a haunting, so to speak, like that television show that had to do with demonology, I would start to research it. So I probably knew everything that demonologists know by the time I was 20. So
Wow.
yeah, I know a lot about demonology. It, it fascinated me because I come from a Christian background, actually. So I kind of shed that when I went through a spiritual awakening, but it was an interesting viewpoint for me to take. And I think the demonology just kind of went with my belief system at the time as well. So yeah, I learned a lot about it.
What about demonology piqued your interest? Was it the darker side of it, or was it understanding that there
Mhm.
are two sides of the spectrum?
I think it was trying to understand what was going on with me and my sister and our environment growing up. I think it was trying to put an answer or a face to some of the stuff that not only would have been going on with me and my sister at a young age, but maybe what else is out there, so that if I experienced it, I would know what I felt like it was, if that makes sense.
Would you be comfortable explaining some of the experiences you had?
Yeah. So when we were younger, we would always hear, we had a door in the basement that went to the garage, and it was one of those like full, it's not one of those hollow doors. It's a full wooden door,
Mhm.
very heavy, with a retractable springs on it so it would shut on its own. And my parents would go, this was back when you could leave your kids at home and you wouldn't get in trouble. You know what I mean? So they would go out and play racquetball at the YMCA, and we would think that they were home because that door would just bam, I mean, as hard as it could slam. Yay, mom and dad are home. Nobody, nobody. And then my sister and I would actually hide underneath the kitchen table until they got home, and that would happen all the time. um, my sister had a lot of experiences because she moved her bedroom to the basement after when she started getting to her like preteen age. And I'm not surprised that she was having more experiences than me down there, just because that's where I felt it when I would go into the rec room. That was the heaviest place. But things like her dolls moving in the middle of the night, shadow figures, being touched, being grabbed, things of that nature. And then I stupidly, at the age of 11, played with a Ouija board in my house,
Never good.
and it got worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it became things like, one day I remember I was in the car with my dad and I heard like his cell phone go off, and he answered it. And she was terrified, and you could hear it in her voice. And she was like, "Are you home?" He was like, "No." She's like, "Don't lie to me. Are you home? Where's Brooke?" She's with me. Well, she had told me when I came home that this thing fell from the ceiling and dropped. I mean, it shook the whole house, and then it was this like roar, like "Rah!" Like it shook. She said she left the floor and ended up on the counter feet first. Doesn't know how that happened. She was so scared. She literally jumped off of our back deck into the green belt to get out of the house. So those types of things were happening. I was more like clairaudient. So it was people waking me up whispering in my ear at night, people calling my name, things of that nature. Just feeling like you're being watched so heavily that I literally, the whole time I lived in that house, would pull my covers, like bunch them up around my head so that nothing could see me, because I figured if I can't see it, it can't see me. And I
Good
lived
reasoning.
like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I lived that way until I moved out at the age of 19, and then even coming back um, to visit my parents, spend the night, things like that, because I didn't move far, a couple minutes away. I didn't want to spend the night alone in that house, because they would leave and go on vacation or go camping or whatever it is they were doing, since me and my sister were now an adult, and I would be staying at their house, and I didn't want to stay there by myself. And I think that says a lot. Like, even when you're a grown adult, you don't even want to sleep in your own childhood home, right?
So
Yeah.
what was about what being a medium? I'm sure you analyzed your life as you just kind of alluded to. What about your childhood home do you believe that carried a spirit or a demon with it?
Mhm. I believe it was elemental. I
Okay.
honestly and truly believe it was elemental, because I felt things that felt more evil. And it didn't behave, in my opinion, the way a so-called demon would behave. If we were going to
Mm.
say maybe it's a demon, it didn't manifest or feel like a human either, because the two of the houses I lived in after that as an adult were highly humanly haunted, and I saw the full body apparition of the ghost who was living there. I mean, full body apparition in two separate homes. That never happened in the home I grew up in. And as I learned more about elementals, I actually learned about elementals along with when I was learning about demonology. Um, I look back now, having the mediumistic ability to kind of feel the land, and I believe it was elemental. Because my parents built that house, and it was up a giant green belt off from literally the ocean. So Washington State in West Seattle, off of the back of this place called Miquamoose Beach. So it's all ocean behind, and our house had an incredible view of the ocean and Vashon Island and all of that. So the water was probably a conduit for the energy on the land. But my parents built that house, as did everybody else, pretty close to around the time that they built their houses on that block. And I just feel like it was probably a protective land spirit that didn't really like that humans were on it and didn't really want them there. That's my kind of opinion and feeling now that I've worked with multiple types of energies and spirit and things of that nature. It feels very elemental to me, very connected to the land as well.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. So what
I
is the
almost
difference between? I'm sorry, Raven. Go ahead.
No, I just have a question too. I think that we've started, because we do a lot of our own investigations as well, and we come to find that people that are a little bit more open to these kinds of experiences happening to them um, are the ones that have them happening to them. I don't know how else to say that, other than like if you're more sensitive, right? And you're a medium, and so you're obviously more sensitive to these things. And you said that you lived in a haunted house when you were, or a house that was haunted when you were a child, and then moved into two other houses that were haunted afterwards. Do you think that you actually moved into haunted houses, or do you think that it was more like you are just able to pick up on the energies that are surrounding you?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it probably is the latter. You know what I mean? It's because looking back on it, that my dad and my mom is a super open person, and she's had experiences. She didn't really talk about them much until like later on in life with me and my sister a little bit, but she's had experiences and she's way more open. My dad is like a full-blown atheist. There's nothing, and nothing ever bothered him, or, I mean, so to speak. I mean, if you look back on my childhood and the way he behaved, you could say was something affecting him. But it's probably, yeah, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that I'm much more open than other people. The level of hauntings is pretty interesting as well. So, is it my PK energy and the fact that I'm a medium? Is it all blending together to make it an even higher like level of a haunting? Because I was married to a guy in these two other houses that really didn't believe in that stuff at all, but he was experiencing things too in the two houses that we lived in. So is it just it was incredibly haunted, so someone who didn't even really believe was experiencing it, or did my PK energy like amplify it, so there's a rabbit hole there, I guess you could say.
I would love to explore that. But before I do, what is the distinct differences between a haunting from a demon and a human haunting?
Um, so my beliefs are probably a little bit different than other people, and I try to be careful about the way that I say things because I don't want to piss anybody off. You know what I mean? But I believe that for a human haunting, I my beliefs kind of waver and go back and forth. As a medium, I do not believe anybody is stuck. I don't believe that. What I do believe is that there could be a fragmented piece of the soul that gets left behind in order to uh, make peace with whatever that soul didn't make peace with before they left this world. But there could be a fragmented piece of the soul that's left behind. My teacher Cindy talks about that as well and believes it a lot also. But I also think that there could be an aspect of, what if an intelligent haunting, what if that is just the person who was in this space was so energetically charged and they had a roller coaster of a life, um, and they were just a highly energized person in terms of like they were always angry or they were always sorrowful. What if they're pouring their energy into a space while they're alive so much that it creates an egregore of themselves, and when they die that egregore stays behind and acts as if it's them? Does that make sense?
It
That
does.
makes a
Because
lot
it
of sense.
technically is, because it's their energy, right?
That
So
makes a
is
lot
it
of
an egregore of the person who was in that space when they were alive and not actually the person on the other side? Is it a fragmented piece of the soul that stays behind? And then when it comes to demons, I mean, I think we call them all sorts of different things in different cultures. It just depends. I know that there's so many different cultures that have these belief systems that are so different. So I think it's when we talk about demon, it could look different depending on the culture that you are in. So demons would probably be closer to a Catholic or like a Catholic Christian sort of religion, possibly, right? But what about jinn? Or what about, things of that nature, right? Is maybe that's like, I don't want to speak for people in the East, but like, is jinn possibly demonic to them? Or there's different types of jinn and all of that stuff. So, what is it that we're experiencing that we put different names on, that really are trying to say the same thing about energy that maybe was never really human at one point, non human energy that is, you know, a negative kind of lower vibrational thing? Or is it a really angry, fragmented piece of the soul that's left behind that is feeding off of anything it can, really, because that's how energy works, right? Pull it all in, and then replaying that in a way that can be very scary for people who don't stop and ask themselves what's actually going on here. So maybe they think it's a demon when it's not a demon. It's really just a fragmented piece of soul or a spirit left behind that is projecting this really nasty energy or nasty attitude, right?
That's very fascinating. Other than your house, when you're a child growing up, what has been the scariest experience you've had when it comes to the paranormal?
So the first house I lived in that I saw the full body apparition, it would be that. So it was a really nasty energy. We kind of knew it was haunted. It belonged to the mother of a coworker of my ex-husband. And it was like she didn't put a lot of money into it. It was like the ceilings were like 6 feet tall, I think. It was so tiny. I mean, it was you walk in, it's here's the living room, kitchen. I mean, it was the tiniest thing. And the energy was really nasty. We were at each other's throats constantly at each other's throats, bad. And we, uh, like, he would go to work and I would hear dishes would get thrown and broken, silverware would get thrown out of the sink, cupboards would open. I mean, it was really poltergeist. And then one night I was sleeping in the living room on the couch, and I woke up and he was standing in the doorway. And it was this man who looked to be maybe in his 40s, probably wearing clothes from the 70s, flannel shirt, kind of curly, puffy hair, beard, huge. Just his head was touching the top of the arch where the kitchen was, and he was just staring at me. And I closed my eyes and I was like, no, 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 no. I'm not seeing this. Open, he's still there. And I'm like, I'm not seeing this, you know what I mean? And no, he was there. And then I closed my eyes again, open, and he was gone. But I was like, well, that's the guy who's clearly been doing all of this. It's that frozen fear when you can't breathe, you can't
Hmm.
move, you can't anything. And then it happened again in the next house we went to, but it was a little boy around the age of like maybe 8 or 9. This It was like the middle of the night, and the whole house sounded like somebody literally lit a bomb in the basement and blew up our house. It shook, the windows rattled. It woke me up out of a sleep. My husband didn't wake up. My baby at the time didn't wake up. So I shook him awake, and I was convinced that someone was in the basement, and I don't know what they had done. So I yelled at him to go down there. He grabbed a bat. He left the room, and the second his body left the doorway, there was a little boy standing sideways looking at me like this. And he had like navy blue shorts, white socks up to his knees, a white shirt with a collar, suspenders, and brown hair. Same thing. I just froze. And I was just like, you can't breathe, you can't move. It's so terrifying. So I kind of made a deal with spirit when I became a medium. Like, I don't ever want to see it ever again. I can see it in my mind's eye. Because you're going to give me a heart attack. Like, legitimately, you're going to give me a heart attack. So you can't let me see that stuff. So I kind of asked my spirit guides to not let me see that stuff ever anymore. Because it's a lot. It's a lot for sure.
If
So
you
you
don't
talk,
mind me going back, sorry, Raven, for a second. Do you think that boom in the basement was to separate you from your boyfriend or husband at the time, so you
Mhm.
would see this spirit? And do you think this spirit of this little boy? Do you think it was a little boy, or do you think I'm under the premise, at least in my experience, that demons come to you sideways, right? They can't come to you straight. They have to come with something that's welcoming, or figure out something that they can change into, that doesn't alarm you, that they can get in. Do you think it was a demon? And do you think it was that noise was a portal opening, or do you think it was just set there to separate you?
I think it was I think it was set to let me know that I can give you an experience that no one in the house is going to experience, and you will be alone in that experience. Like,
mm,
because there's no way that shouldn't have woken him up. There's no way that shouldn't have woke my baby up. I mean, he's my son's almost 18 now, but he was a baby at the time. There's no way. And I think it's that kind of gaslighting that happens
mm,
sometimes in hauntings where you feel alone in it, right? And I don't know if it was a little boy or not. I knew he was there because I always hear first, or there's experiences first, and then after a while I see. So he would laugh constantly. I mean, it was almost just like, okay, enough already. It was all day, all the time. I'd go into my son's room, go to sleep. He's supposed to be in his crib. He's completely out, totally asleep, sweat on him. You could tell he'd been sleeping for a while. But this little boy would just laugh constantly. So I knew he was there. But I don't know that I felt like I honestly felt like he was asking for some sort of help, because I will never forget. I didn't like going into the basement of this house. There was this one weird room off in the corner, and the floor was kind of crooked, and there was carpet on it. I was sick to my stomach. I was like, children were harmed here, and you know what I'm talking about. I know it. Like, kids were kept in this room and they were harmed here. Like, it just made me sick to my stomach. I can't prove it, but I'm feeling it and I'm seeing it, and I wouldn't go down in that basement again. So it was probably I'm here, I need help. You need to investigate what you knew happened in the basement. Come down to the basement. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And that's very interesting, and it would definitely scare most people. So you seem to
Yeah,
keep your wits, so that's pretty cool. Um,
I try.
as a medium, if we can explore that a little bit, do and you kind of mentioned a jinn. So do you believe in cryptozoology as a medium?
Yes.
Okay.
One of my closest friends is Toby Johnson. So he's here on the West Coast. He was on Expedition Bigfoot for a little while. He is a very talented, smart individual who has dedicated his life to the research of Bigfoot. And we go out investigating together. Me, him, Alicia, and Martin go out all the time investigating together, and we do stuff together. And I love it. So I like combine. It's fun for him because I think it's the first time he's really had a chance to combine a real paranormal investigators who actually are out doing this, have the equipment, a
Mhm.
medium that he respects, um, and then them to get to do their cryptid stuff and blend that together. Mediumship, what are you feeling? What are you tapping into? What are you hearing? What's going on? Having the paranormal aspect of it, where we're like investigating with equipment, and then their expertise as well, Toby and Alicia as well. So it's been really fun to blend all of that together through doing cryptid research with those two. Yeah.
Well, in your
So he
opinion,
does believe.
what is Bigfoot?
Oh my gosh, that's such a rabbit hole. That's
I
such a
know, that's
rabbit
why I
hole.
asked. Yeah.
Oh
Let's fall down that rabbit hole. Is it
my
a
gosh.
extraterrestrial being disguised as something? Is it a an an animal that just somehow wasn't able to evolve to past but not quite human?
Mhm.
What is the Bigfoot in your, opinion?
It's hard for me to say that I would believe that it is just a species that has not been discovered yet. That would be hard for me to say because I know a lot of like my friend Toby is one of them. They dig in different ways. They do all these experiments like oh gosh, it's Toby's so much better at explaining this than I am. But these things that they do that kind of prove it goes beyond the physicality. It goes beyond, and not only that, there's a lot of research that proves that people who have had Bigfoot experiences are also abductee experiencers.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So what's going on there? So my belief is Bigfoot is alien, is interdimensional, is time shifter, is everything.
Do you
It's
think it
wild.
could also be like a shapeshifter? One
Yes.
sees what one wants. I mean,
Yep. 100%. 100%. So it's wild because I think things like, okay, so if you look into like some of the tribes, um, stories and
hmm
their legends,
hmm
right? There's good and there's bad, right? So if they're shapeshifters, could they also be Wendigo? Could they also be skinwalkers? Could they also be, you know what I mean? So it just kind of, it's wild. It's wild to think like, why are these abductees having these experiences with Bigfoot? And what I mean, my friends caught the most incredible handprint. Toby and Alicia caught this handprint on their car as they were out. I think it was where Ron Moorhead, the area with Ron Moorhead. Um, they were out investigating that area. They were like, I think, hauled up for like 4 nights or something in this space. It's so removed from like society and people. I don't want to misquote it. I think that's where they were, but it was on their way down to Oregon. So they woke up one day and there's a handprint on their car, and it's this handprint that just can't really be a person handprint, and these two last fingers curl up and go over like this. It was crazy. um, they did what they could to preserve it, take pictures, things of that nature. But it is, and then he researched it. It is the same handprint that's been found on abductees after they've been abducted. It's the same handprint, and they're
That's
looking for Bigfoot. So,
It's very
what's
interesting.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want
Well,
to say, actually, first of all, thank you for that because Gabriel and I have a long going debate on Bigfoot around here. So I definitely believe in Bigfoot and he does not. And so I want to say thank you because now we ask every guest that's on. So I think we're going to start a tally of, he's making a face at me.
Yeah.
We're going to start a tally.
so
Cody Johnson will turn him into a believer with one conversation. That guy is.
So what I believe Bigfoot is I do think that there are portals that things do enter back and forth. There's a thinning. There's parallel universes, and I do believe that it's very likely if all those things really did exist, and the universe is something that I don't think we can comprehend as simple human beings. I do think that people like you, like being a medium, you are able to um, tap into a junction box, if you will, and being able to read certain elements. But I do think that if we consider portals and we consider parallel universes, I do think that it's very possible that there is something slipping in between. I'm also an alien guy, right? Um, I I'm also, I have beliefs that, we seem such a simple and destructive society. I can't see us being the only ones ever created, right?
Right.
There, the universe is so vast that for us to be the only accident, to me, I think it's far fetched, right? I think that there's been little. I think the Earth has survived many of races when it comes to man, and because of our own doing, I think our creator wiped us out a couple times, and
Yeah.
here we are again, right? Um, on that note, talking about paranormal, our aliens, what do you think of 331 Atlas? That's really big in the media right now. Do you feel that is just a rock? They already confirmed that it's not a meteor or comet. Do you think that could be a ship? Do you have, as a medium, being able to kind of hone your craft, are you able to tap into extraterrestrials?
Yes, so to speak. Have I attempted to do that much? Not quite. Um, I don't know why I haven't tried more, honestly. I probably should look into doing more of that and the connection there because I've always been so connected to the sky. I used to look up at the sky at night when I was a kid and just be like, I'm homesick. I'm homesick. You know what I mean? So it's kind of an odd concept, but that whole thing, look, all I can say about that is there's something happening. There's something going on. And in the next year or two, I don't know. People better like hold on to their britches. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's gonna be kind of wild. And it's like, is it a distraction from the government? Is it more than that? I don't know. I feel like if any time is due, time is probably now.
Probably a good time. Now, since you brought up the government and the distraction, which I'm a big government conspiracy things because, power loves power, right? Power
Yep.
corrupts absolute. So,
Mhm.
do you do you believe in the Mandela effect? And because a lot of people say that we have been reset in what was it, 5 years ago, 2000, something like that, it changes. Social medias, as you know, 95% of it's all made up.
Mhm.
The 5% usually gets lost in between that.
Yeah.
So do you believe in a Mandela effect that somebody has? We know because the harp they can manipulate weather. Do you think that do you feel that they have tamped with the Ciron project, where the particle, the Big Bang theory, if you will? Do you think that has interrupted time in a bit and has reset certain things?
I feel like Possibly, yes. I feel like every theory has a string of possibilities that it's like hard to kind of ignore. I, like I said, I go down rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and they're
It's hard
all
not
in,
to, you know?
yeah, all of them have some type of merit to me if you go down the
Hmm.
rabbit hole far enough, right?
Right.
With the Mandela effect, I feel like it's interesting because what I kind of feel like it is the government going, how much of your own reality can we mm,
Alter.
alter or make you
Yeah.
believe didn't happen? Because if we can do that to you, it's like a test. If
Right.
we can make you believe what we want you to believe, then what else can we do? How
Right.
far can we take it? You know what
Right.
I mean? So if we can make you question your own reality and say to yourself, oh, well, you must be right. Oh, you must be right. I don't know. I must have been thinking something else. Okay. Wow. We can get people to release their own reality, so to speak, and take on mine instead. Take on what we want to be the reality.
What
Yeah.
the most best way to change to control somebody is to be able to change their own history, which
Mm-hmm.
is phenomenal if you think about it. I mean, it's brilliant at
Mm-hmm.
the core of deception, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're kind of like mind, because you are a medium, and you know, I find that subject interesting, and I hate to go down rabbit holes with the government conspiracies because we'd be here until like tomorrow, you
Yep.
know, and I'd be happy to do that with you. So as a medium, you said you went to a medium class university. What was it?
Just online courses. So
Okay.
I started with Cindy Kaza. So Cindy Kaza is on Holzer Files, Ghost of Devil's Perch, on a bunch of shock docs, things like that. She's phenomenal. She is fascinating, and she's been doing this for a really long time. So luckily, I found her first, and I was able to take online courses with her, starting with beginners mediumship courses. Then I moved into longer courses online with her through Zoom, more like month-long courses, things of that nature, different courses. Then she suggested her mentor to me, which is Paul Jacobs of the Arthur Findlay College in the UK. So she calls it Hogwarts for mediums, but she doesn't think they probably like that so much. But it's like where spiritualism was born, really, right? And that's where mediumship comes from, is spiritualism. I'm not a spiritualist, but I have trained under some spiritualists like Paul Jacobs. Um, and then online, of course. And then I was able to do some work in person with Cindy Kaza, along with her best friend Natalie Lucia, who's also a fantastic medium. I also trained with her. And then I've trained with Kaz Dukes, who is also in the UK with the Acorn Academy online. So thank God kind of for this whole world of Zoom and doing things online, because without it, I would have never even known that you could learn mediumship. So, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's actually that was actually a really good question, and I actually wanted to ask you that question as well. And like, how do you then, how do you learn mediumship, and like, how does that, yeah, how do you learn mediumship? Like, what is something that you learn? And I know that you offer classes yourself as well, on your website,
I
but
do.
how is this something that you learn and then grow from? And then this is also a two-part question. What, as a medium, I know you said you were more audio, right? So like, how do you take in this
Yeah.
information when
Right.
other people are, yeah. So let's dive into that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So first, kind of the first part of the question is everybody has this ability. Nobody is separate from the spirit world. We are, so I always like to say we are like a soul having a human experience, not a human having a, soul experience or a spiritual experience. So we're already one foot in. We're already connected because that's where we come from, is the spirit world, right? So we come here into this human reality. So everybody has the ability to connect to the spirit world because that's already what you are. So with the classes, what it does is it breaks down what mediumship is and how it's used, or how you use your clairs. So they will break it down, like talking about your clair senses. So clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, claircognizance. So everybody says a sixth sense, or when someone says, I trusted my gut, that is mediumship ability, that is psychic ability. And with psychic, you use all the same clairs. So a lot of people hear this whole, oh, I'm a clairvoyant, I'm a clairvoyant, I'm a clairvoyant. But really, what that means is I get all of my information from the other world through visions. I see it. So if someone's saying I'm purely a clairvoyant, they only get their information through seeing. Mediums use every facet of their clairs. So clairseeing, clairvoyance, so they see it in their mind's eye. Claircognizance, it just drops into your head and you just know it. You ever like know something you don't know how you should know? That's claircognizance. Then clairsentience is clear feeling. So that can either be physical, which it is a lot for me. A lot of times it's physical because I always ask for reason for passing because it's the quickest way for me to get to my sitter in a group reading with a bunch of people sitting in chairs in front of me is to know how the person on the other side passed away. So they usually give that to me clairsentiently. So that can be physical. Like I physically, my heart is beating a million miles a minute. I know it's a heart attack. I physically feel my kidneys are killing me. They must have had kidney disease. I physically get dizzy, like really, really dizzy. Okay, I know they were on a lot of medication before they passed away. It's about learning what these senses mean, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of time. And then there's clear audience where it's clear hearing. So it's like talking to yourself in your own mind, right? So it's about learning what these clairs are and how to recognize them when it's happening to you, because it happens to all of us. You know what I mean? So to learn it, it's just being with someone who's been doing it so long that they can walk you through it. I like to do a lot of trust exercises when I work with my students, because the biggest thing for mediumship is it's going to feel like you're making it up. You feel 100% like you just made that up. You just, I don't know, there's a guy here with a hat on and he passed away from a stroke. And the person's like, yeah, that's my grandpa. And you're like, no effing way. That's wild, right? It feels like that. So it's about making people trust those tiny little things, those clairs that go off in the moment, and being able to project that, say what you're getting, and then the validation that comes back from the sitter. So you can't know whether or not you're really correct without the validation from the sitter. So it's really about getting that validation from the sitter, and then you just grow on that. And then you have to start taking things and going deeper, and you have to start putting them together to tell a story. And that's where the training comes in, and just continuing to practice. Because example, right? I did not know that I take a sense of responsibility for my passing. I didn't know what that meant, because all I would get is a spirit would come in front of me and be like, oh, okay, so I feel like I have a man here. He's like 20 something. And then he would just, and I'm like, are you gonna say something? Are you like, what's going on here? And through talking to the sitter I was practicing with, noticing every single time that happened to me, the person took a sense of responsibility for their passing. So they did something that caused their own passing. And I'm like, oh, got it. So without that validation from the sitter and that repetitiveness of learning that, and having my sitter at the end tell me, well, this is how they died. And it's like, oh, there's a running theme here. Every time they won't talk to me and they're just like this, I get it, got it, okay? You know what I mean? So it's about learning what your signs and symbols mean, right? And then what was the second part of that question, Raven? I'm so sorry. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast. So. Oh, I think I lost her audio. Can you hear her, Gabriel?
I cannot, no.
There it is. No, I was going to say, I can't remember where I parked my car half the time anyway. So like, that's totally fine. I totally understand. No, I think that was pretty much it. Like how, how it comes to you, like how do you know that these things are happening, or how, like, I know that you communicate with past loved ones or people's past loved ones, and just how you do that, which is very, very interesting, and how they come at you, I guess was the question itself.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just about trusting the little things that we're told are not real our whole lives, or it's not a connection to anything else. Oh, you're making it up, or oh, that was weird, oh, that's a coincidence. Just these little things, opening up your clear senses to be able to receive information and then put that information together in a way that makes sense. So Yeah, so just doing that over and over again, practicing and being able to dive deep. So the diving deep and taking it further takes time. So the clairsentience is where the story is. So not just the physical, but getting into the emotions of it. Okay, I can feel when this person gets brought up, there's a problem here, or I can feel the tension between this person that they're talking about and them. So I know that there's a problem. Did they not, would you understand that they didn't, they had a fallout before the passing and it didn't get fixed? You know, just things like that where you're having to take what you're getting and then open up your clairsentience, dive in and be like, feel into the story and feel into what's happening. And that just takes time and practice.
Wow, that's very interesting. How do you feel like that has helped you in your paranormal investigating? Or
Yeah,
how,
I love it.
yeah, yeah.
I love mediumship inside of paranormal investigation because it's a different side of mediumship. So when I'm sitting in front of someone, it's a very kind of loving, healing space where you are connected to someone who they knew inside and out, they loved, who hasn't been probably gone from this earth all that long. And when I walk into a paranormal investigation, I get to use a different side of my mediumship. So I get to tap into the past. I get to tap into the energy, just energy of the space too. I can see things that might be happening in front of my face, or I can hear somebody talking to me, telling me what they did in that space, who they are, and kind of bring forward the past, like the past, which is really fun because it's a totally different. And then when you get that validation from the person who knows the history of the space, it's really cool feeling because you're like, I'm not making this up. You know, this person is with me, they're telling me this, or I'm seeing this image. Because you can use all sorts of stuff in paranormal investigation that you don't use inside of the mediumship face to face with people. So, like your psychometry or your remote viewing, those types of things you get to use inside of paranormal investigation that you don't get to in your regular mediumship. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I love that. I love that you can use all of that because, like there have been times where we've been doing some like paranormal investigating or doing our own investigating and things have come up where it's like, I feel like this is something like this is going on, right? We talk about the Sally house a lot, but we noticed that the air shifted completely at a certain point when we were in the house. And I had this feeling like the back room, you know, that there was something hiding in there that was more of an innocent spirit, and yet the outside of that room there was something more malevolent, right? And I was like, in my head I'm like, well, that's just me making this up, right?
Right.
But I love that you're kind of saying no, people should be able to trust that intuition and work on that. So
Yep.
it's very interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like, oh, I just kind of want this to be right. You know what it is? Everybody tells us we're all so freaking ego filled. You just think it's your ego getting in the way, and then you don't want to be egotistical. So you like back up, it's nothing. And it's like, it's not your ego, it's your psychic ability. You know what I mean? So it's wild the things that could come up in investigations. I know I went to the Cabbage Patch with Chris Fisk in Butte, Montana, and Tony Hoffman. I love Tony; he's such a great guy. They let me and Mart and Kimberly Horn and Scott Horn. We went investigating with them. They let us into the Cabbage Patch, and we were doing investigations in there. Well, we were kind of just scanning the area at first, and I'm like, there's a woman here who's like really mad that the the show Ghost of Devil's Perch was talking all about this Pete O'Hara guy at the Cabbage Patch ruling with an iron fist, and she's mad. She's like, I rule this Cabbage Patch. She was. So I asked Tony. I was like, what's with the woman here who says she owns this place? Forget Pete O'Hara. She's the queen here. She rules with an iron fist. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We didn't talk about her on the show. Her name's Max Kelly Rose. And I was like, oh, well, she's really mad, that you didn't bring her up. So you should probably start telling people who come in here to either investigate or for museum purposes, you should probably start talking about her because she's not happy. Just stuff like that. Yeah.
So, is this something that just comes to you like all the time? Or do you have you found an off button for it? I know we've talked to some other people that have the or have said that they've been able to turn it off. So I'm just curious that like if this is something that you
Yeah.
constantly have to deal with, or have you found that off?
So anybody who's ever watched an interview with me on any podcast will hear the same answer, and that is I am not like other mediums in the way that I'm super, super lucky. I feel so bad for other mediums because I'm in the off switch all the time. All the time. I have to turn the switch on. I have to go, okay, ready to work, boop, and turn the light switch on. It's not the other way around for me, which can be a little bit more of a detriment to me because I may not pick up on something that I would have liked to pick up on because I wasn't in that mode and I didn't have that switch turned on. So I might not pick up on something and then later on look back and go, well, I wasn't in psychic or medium mode in that moment, going, okay, time to work. So I missed that. It would have been interesting if I would have been able to catch that. But I'm always in the off position. And then I just have to, it's so weird. Mediumship is literally like this tiny thin line between your analytical mind and switching your awareness. So for me, when I'm ready to work, it's like, boop, okay, I just switched my awareness. Got it. You know what I mean? So I kind of have to switch that awareness in order to catch on to anything. And I haven't luckily had to be like, gosh, go away, you're bothering me. You know, somebody's grandma at the grocery store won't leave me alone or something. I don't have that problem, luckily.
Well, okay, so I know that we're gonna see you this weekend. Can you tell us about what's going on this next weekend, of course, and then also tell us about some of the other things that you have going on. I know you have a lot going on. You have your podcast and you have a lot of
Mhm.
things. So if you can tell all of our listeners what you have going on and where they can find you and all of those fun things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll be at the Up North Paracon this weekend in Brainerd, Minnesota. I will be doing a gallery reading where I pull through your loved ones from the other side and bring messages. So, that's a ticketed event. That should be on Sunday, but I'll be there all weekend with you guys hanging out. So, you can always catch me at my booth as well. Martin will be there as well. So, we're there as at our table, we're there as me as a medium and us as a paranormal team as well. So, you could catch me there. I can't announce the one in April. I really want to announce because I got to wait for my friend to announce it first because it's his thing. But I will be in Iowa in April. I will be at the Missouri Paracon in February. And you could catch my podcast on Spectre and Spooks podcast on YouTube. I have a whole short story series there that I put up for Halloween. I narrate a bunch of stories. Who knew I was a good narrator? I guess I am. Agent told me to do it, so I did it. So that's fun. And then I probably once to twice a month, I have a podcast on there as well that's live streaming. You can also catch me on my website at mediumbrookeashley.com. That's where I put my classes, where you can see or meet me in person if I'm having an event. That will be on my website. You can also book private readings with me on my website, Psychic and Mediumship. I also do group readings on my website. And I just linked up with the Spirit Realm Network, so I should have a new show coming out on the Spirit Realm Network as well. So lots of things in the future. And I don't know, you can find me a little bit everywhere, I guess.
Well, it's fascinating. Thank you very much, Brooke. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I ask you a couple more questions about your being a medium and being able to br- branch that closure for
Sure.
loved ones? What is the first time that you had clarification that you were tapping into something that was allowed for somebody to have that closure?
The first class I ever took. Um, so the first class I took with my mentor, that's probably where I realized that I could because it was as simple as a couple of images that I saw, and the woman was so touched and got tears in her eyes and said that that was her grandfather. And it was the first, I had never done this before, but I'm at my first beginner's course and we're getting this lecture portion. And then she just throws us into these breakout rooms and goes, go, trust your gut instinct. And that was the first moment that I realized the connection, how the connection works, what that can do for people, even if it's something small. I think that's where I realized the power of what was going on within that, what mediumship can bring to the table, and how easy it actually is for people to tap into it if they wanted to. Yeah.
What is it that people when that contact you and wants that closure with somebody that has passed? Um, does the other side need that closure as well, or is it more of someone that's living that needs that closure?
Through my experience and what I feel just from my lens of working with the spirit world, when we pass over, we're at such peace. I mean, you hear about NDEs all the time where people didn't want to come back or they were
Right.
mad that they had to come back, right?
Yeah.
It's such a sense of peace. So it's really for their loved one that's still here in the physical world to have a level of healing. So I get a lot of apologies. I get a lot of, I knew you were there. I heard you tell me it was okay to go. Thank you for doing that. Because it really gives peace to their loved one. And that's what they want to see, right? Their loved one healing, their loved one thriving, their loved one enjoying their life that is here in this physical world. So, I mean, I very rarely have come across people on the other side who are struggling in that way. It's more so they may still be looking at their life review and they may be a little busy looking at their life review. So they may not be in that space yet to bring up the apology or to be wholehearted in this kind of like, look, I can see it from your point of view now. Maybe they're still in the middle of that review. So there's a little bit of, okay, I know they're here. And I've gotten people that have gotten mad at me. You know, it happens super rare, but like, where's my damn apology? They should be apologizing to me. And it's like, they're not there yet. They're not ready yet, you know? And I can't give you something they're not giving me, you know? So it happens rarely, but really most of the people that I've seen on the other side are so at peace. Um, Even if they're still like working some things out or learning lessons or whatever it is they're doing on the other side, they're very much at peace and just want their loved ones at peace as well. Yeah.
Do they visit us and watch us as in the way that we think they do? Um,
No.
are are they just so involved with their own peace at that time
Mhm.
of the passing that they just consequently think that my loved ones are good, so that's why they're able to be at peace.
Yeah, it's wild because it's like it's not like grandma can see you taking a shower or grandma,
Right.
hey man, is grandma around? I want to, spend the night with my boyfriend. So it's not that kind of thing. And I think because our mind is human, so we look at how do they see us here because we're in this time and space sort of thing. It's more of like their energy is everywhere. So their energy absorbs and sees all of these milestones and all of these great things in your life and gives you, it's like their energy knows your energy, so their energy
Right.
can feel when your energy is saying I just had a baby. Their energy can feel when your energy is saying I just graduated. Their energy can feel when your energy is saying I need help, I feel so alone, right? And they're there in those moments. They really don't miss anything. The things that they bring up is, it's fascinating, the things they will bring up that have happened since they've passed away. So they really don't miss anything, but it's not like grandma's in the shower with you, like, hey, what's up?
Right. And that's great. So on the other side, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Because you said that no one's ever stuck. But if
Mhm.
no one's ever stuck, how do we explain the paranormal?
Right.
The demonology of it, the scary
Mhm.
of it, where that
Mhm.
people experience things. Are these
Yeah.
people enjoying that experience? That they're here for the intention to create
Mhm.
chaos? Is that's kind of a two-part question, and I'll let you go ahead
Mhm.
and answer the
Well, it kind of goes back to what I was saying prior is that fragmented piece of the soul, not the whole soul or the entirety of that person, just a tiny little fragmented piece that stays behind, or an agregoric manifestation of the person. You know what I mean? So when people say, well, how can you believe no one's stuck but there's ghosts, that's my explanation for it, as at least as of right now, is that it's a tiny fragmented piece of the soul that's stuck behind, kind of like waiting to um, rectify or to make peace with certain things, and then it and then it reintegrates with the whole soul. I think the soul is massive, massive, massive. I don't even think our whole soul is here in our body. I think that's why we have a higher self, in my opinion. We have a higher self. A lot of our soul, I think, is still in the spirit world. It was just a piece of our soul down here to have these experiences. So, I had to go through a lot of like breaking that dogmatic sort of way of thinking when I went through a spiritual awakening. So, I mean, to say it quickly, I guess I could say I couldn't understand this idea of hell, or somewhat, because it's like, well, what are the rules for that? And look how ridiculous some of the rules are for what would send you to hell. So how do so for me, I really compartmentalize it by feeling like this is an experience for the soul to continue to level up little by little by little by little, and it's a polarity situation. You cannot have light without dark. You have yin and yang. You have to have bad and to have good. So if we put everybody good in this world and no one bad, there's not that polarity. But is it really that person's who did the bad thing? Is it really like they're there for the polarity? So why would they be punished for that? And it's just a soul lesson on the other side. So I believe definitely that when people go to the other side, they have to compartmentalize what they did in life. So they have to feel it and see it from everybody else's perspective. So if you put out a lot of love and a lot of good, that's what you're going to feel back as you're replaying your life. If you did a lot of bad, you have to feel what that felt like for other people. So to me, that's hell. That's my opinion. That's how I compartmentalize it as of now from what I've experienced and what I've seen through my lens. Just real quick example, like I have a friend who died of an OD, right? And it was at an apartment. So could there be people who go, oh, there's a guy who passed away in that apartment from an OD. And so they're going to go investigate it because it's empty, right? And they're looking for my friend TJ. Well, I talk to TJ all the time, and my medium friends bring him through constantly with information there's no way they could know. So how could TJ be there? They could experience something in that place. They could experience something that is like TJ when they're paranormal investigating. Well, how is he there and there at the same time? So that's kind of how I view it, is it's got to be an egregore of his energy that was left behind because he was a very troubled person. So that goes into the space as he's living there, and then can create an egregore that then behaves like him because it is his energy that's left behind. Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. Hey, Raven, any last words?
Well, I was waiting to unmute. I thought that is actually very interesting. I think we've kind of discussed a little bit of that before. Gabriel and I have, about maybe it is just residual energy from people just taking up that space. Like maybe that is what we are all experiencing. So I kind of love that you brought that up. That's very, very interesting. I do have one more question before we close this down. And I know that a lot of people have had experiences, myself included, with people visiting them in dreams. So loved ones who have passed on, visiting them in dreams. Is that actually something that, I mean, you're shaking your head, yes.
Real?
Yeah. Is that
yeah, it's real. Visitation dreams are very different than other dreams. They're usually extremely vivid, very short, and the people in the dream usually don't say anything, or they just say one or two quick little things, and then you wake up and you never forget it. And that's a visitation dream. That's real. And you never forget those. They're usually in a space that's very uncluttered. For me, it's always in a white room. There's nothing else but them in a white room. And they'll say something, or they'll hug me, or they will smile, and then boom, you wake up, and then you never forget it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Of course.
All right, that was it.
Okay. Well, we thank Brooke for sharing her gift and for helping the living find peace in the echoes of the beyond. And to each of you listening from the shadows of your own stories, perhaps you felt something stir, a chill, a warmth, or a name you haven't spoken in years. If so, maybe they heard you too. I am Gabriel Von Graves, and this has been Darkwoods Paranormal with my partner in the unknown, Raven Knight. And of course, our beloved guest here, Brooke. Thank you very much. Thank you for walking the narrow path beyond the light and the shadow with us. If you enjoyed tonight's program, please visit us on darkwoods.paranormal.com. I know that Raven has us on all the social medias. What are they, Raven?
So you can actually find us obviously on YouTube, which you might be watching here right now, but YouTube,
On the
we have our
tubes.
on the YouTube's, our Facebook page. You could go and follow TikTok. We're on X. We are all over the place, really. And then we are also on Midnight Realm Radio at 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday nights as well. So please like, follow, subscribe. Also, please like, follow, subscribe Brooke Ashley as well. She's been an amazing guest and very informative. I can't wait to meet you in person this next Saturday. So
Yes, we definitely look forward to it. Thank you, Brooke. Hang on for just a second. Stay aware, stay curious, and most of my friends, do stay safe out there. Thank you.
thank you.